just tell us who you are and what is the role that you're portraying in this film.
Okay. I'm Robert Patrick. No, I'm Kristin Bauer, and I'm in the first episode of this new show, Lore, that tells stories, folklore stories, and my story is the story that has inspired Chucky and every haunted doll story that's come about. And these are based on true events. And it's also a new way of telling stories because it's half scripted, half documentary. So it kind of breaks down the wall of fiction.
So as an actress, how that feels that you are like living a true story?
Yeah, I didn't think that it would matter because I still have to say the dialogue and be this person believably, but it did for me change the depth of the relationship to the doll, especially that I knew that this is a doll that exists, that people believe that this doll affected this man's life and dictated his actions and caused him to do some not so nice things. And you know, you see the doll in the museum with endless letters from people, and so it's a real belief system and an actual story, and somehow that did, I think, get in. And you never know if it, you know, is seen in my performance if I hadn't had that in my head, but it got in my head.
Whether it's Annabelle or Chucky or anything, I mean, there is something really disturbing about a doll not being what you expect it to be and everything.
Right.
What do you think? Do you think it's, parental? Do you think it's like an innocence that we trust too much and then, goes awry? What do you think it is that attracts us to these stories? Because we all do love them.
I know we love those, and it's been around, and it's also in different cultures. And one time I said to a friend about ghosts. I said, so I believe that everybody is a spirit in a body. So why would I be so nervous or upset by a spirit not being in a body? Because I'm not afraid of you. So if you're not in your body and you're floating around, and the person said, well, because they're not playing by the rules. And I thought, oh, right. So I think there's the scary doll story crosses over into a couple of things, because one, it's with children. And acting in this role, the story is basically told from the mother's viewpoint of she just loves her child so much and something is so seriously wrong. And then that it becomes something that you can't do anything about. You're completely powerless in this realm. I think that's what makes it frightening. And I don't know why people like to be frightened, but we all love it. We like to go on roller coasters. We like to go to the next Halloween. You know, writers are trying to figure out how to frighten us, and I think that is getting harder and harder as we're getting more and more used to special effects and gore and explosions. I mean, you look back at the day at the first Godzilla, and we think it looks ridiculous. But people had to use their imaginations and engage their minds, I think, more. And that's what I like about Lore, is it goes back to classic storytelling. And I think that it will engage our minds, knowing also and seeing the documentary aspect that this really happened.
It raises the stakes.
I think it raises the stakes, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And what was it like when the camera stopped rolling? Were you like checking the lights and looking in the back seat and stuff like that? Like, or did you just leave everything?
We did have a big respect for Robert more than a prop. And we told ourselves it's Robert's doppelganger. It's not really Robert. But we all started being like, well, let's just err on the side of being polite. You know, and I had to manhandle him and his arm came up and I'm like, you know. So there was a presence beyond a prop, no, and that's what I think will happen watching the show, is there's a presence beyond fiction.
Did you go down to the experience?
I did.
I went in there and I was like, I don't want to.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your logical mind is saying, don't be ridiculous. And then part of you that wants to be part of it goes, I think I'm good. I'm not going to take my picture. And that's, I think, the way that the podcast, you he just told stories that he had researched. That he said, Aaron said that he was researching for other fiction books that he was writing, and he got all this research of actual events that were just in a PDF. And so he started just recording them and telling them, and 50 million downloads now.
So did you do any research about your character and your story, or just...
I did. I tried to find out about my character, but there's nothing on this woman except that she existed. But there is a lot on her son. And you can see the house where they lived in Key West, but there's no pictures of her. So I was free to make her up. And just imagine what it would be like to have a son that is that troubled, that very, very, very strange things are happening, and he's saying it's the doll. And then it's an interesting arc for her, because as anyone would be, you would think, bullshit. And then at a certain point, when you start seeing strange things happening, you have the choice of, am I going crazy? And is my son going crazy? Like that's what I mean, is the rules are all broken.
Where did you film this?
Atlanta.
Okay.
And they rented a really amazing home of the period. And that was fun for me to also be in the home. So you're in the costumes, the corsets, the petticoats. I had a wig in the home. It was hot. It's supposed to be Key West, plenty humid. So we kind of felt like we lived it. And we shot really intense, long days. So
I was just wondering, with a series like this, where each episode is, is supposed to be a different place, a different time, that's got to be really a logistical, challenge.
It is. It's incredible. But this is with the Walking Dead producers and also X-Files. But the Walking Dead people shoot in Atlanta. Right. And they had this down. Usually when you do a first episode of anything, it feels like the first day at school and there's some real kinks to work out. These guys hit the ground running. And I think that's because they've been doing this down in Atlanta successfully for years. So it was so smooth. Yeah, it was a lovely experience. And I can't say enough about, it's my first time working for Amazon. And I think it comes from the top down. The second you step on a set, whether or not the environment is creative and lovely and cohesive, and it was. So I attribute that all the way up.
Robert had a great idea. He was just saying, since it is, different stories, he could be brought back any season.
Totally.
Right?
Well, I love the American Horror Story concept. I would love to go back. I mean, and I really don't look like myself, so I could easily go back. Yeah, that'd be nice.
We're gonna pitch that to Gail.
Okay, good. When Gail comes around.
Thinking on that, what kind of story would you like to do next, like in lore? Because
right
we
now,
wanted to do the one where Lover's Lane and you hear the hook on the car.
Oh,
that was the one.
Yes. God, right now I'm writing and pitching a couple of things, and they're all comedies. Everything that I'm putting myself in right now, I started in comedies, and I kind of want to go back to making people laugh, especially right now. And I want to laugh more. And also, I don't want to night shoot anymore. 7 years of night shooting, I'm kind of good. I didn't have to on this. But those are the stories that I'm picturing myself in, as very, very human, funny stories. And then I'll just get to go watch. What's the one I really want to see now? It's on iTunes. Is Ghost Story. Have you seen it?
I've heard of it though.
Might be scary.
There's so much TV. Like, is it overwhelming to you? Like, how many different, all the streaming services and network versus cable?
Yes.
Is that amazing?
I think it is overwhelming, and what ends up happening is that I watch Transparent because Jeffrey Tambor was my acting teacher, and he's so brilliant in it. And then our costumer from True Blood went on to Man the High Castle, so that goes up to the top of the list. And because I have Amazon Stick, and I'm such a big fan of it, that it pops up, and so I end up kind of going back to one platform, and that has actually for me between Prime and the Stick. I just love being in that little world. I'm used to it now. It took me a bit to get away from, yeah, because when I was born, there were 4 channels and no remote. And I'm not 100. Like, it's changed really fast.
It certainly has.
So we got the Amazon Stick in our bedroom, and that's the only time I watch TV is that last hour before I crash. And so we go in there and click around.
And it kind of learns what you like. And then
totally.
Which is amazing.
We think you'd like this. I'm like, that's creepy.
How did you know?
Yeah, who's we? I know.
And these shoes as well. Right?
Totally. That's what it will be. I know, because I buy everything at Amazon as well. With Prime, it's there in 24 hours. I know, it's an interesting world that we live in. But the outlets for telling stories differently, when you take advertising out of the model, it frees up what creative people can do. They don't have to write so that every 11 minutes there's a cliffhanger so you don't turn the channel. And they don't have to worry about everything that we do in network television. They run it by legal, quote unquote. That's advertising. And that is fair because that's what pays for it. So I agree with it. But it is interesting what you can do and what you can talk about on an Amazon.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
I hope you like it. I haven't seen any of it yet.
None?
Nope, just a little. I know, you'd think I'd know people.
Well, what's it like bringing it to Comic-Con then? Like where you have like an instant fandom because they're anticipating.
I know, and they said that there was, last year they did, and they had a ton of people here because of Aaron. He's, 50 million downloads. We had 12 million viewers on True Blood, so that's quite impressive. So it is nice.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose it, because they said it was the Lore podcast and Walking Dead people and X-Files, and I was like, I'm good. Where do you want me to be when?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.